We have my man, Mr. Justin Currie, who is founder and CEO of Masters of Home Care. And he is sharing today a bunch of secret strategies all on sales, marketing, and fulfillment on how to crush it as an entrepreneur. Now, we're going to be diving into this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Carrie Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee. All right, my brother, Mr. Justin Currie. Welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast. I am super stoked to rock the mic with you, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be a fun one. I mean, you are the founder and CEO of Masters of Home Care. You're also number 3,691 on the Inc. 5,000 list for fastest growing companies in 2024. You're also number 171 on Inc. Magazine's regional list as fastest growing companies in the Northeast. You're also a mentor, a serial entrepreneur. You are a husband, a new father on the way. You got one in the oven baking right now, you and Sarah. I'm super excited. Congratulations. And most importantly, man, you are a happy hustler. So you have been a part of the Happy Hustle Club and many of Masterminds, and we have broed out in so many different regards. And I'm just so grateful for you because you are the epitome of what we live by, you know, inspirational integrity, reciprocal respect, and outgoing optimism, our core values at the Happy Hustle, and you embody all of them. And I'm excited to bring you on the mic and to talk all things sales, marketing, fulfillment, how you grow an Inc. 5,000 company while still maintaining a personal life and also, you know, crushing it in both. So very excited about this topic with you, Justin. Before we get into all that good stuff, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Something interesting about myself. So, an interesting thing would be I used to do some bull riding back in the day.
Yeah,
That was my thing before I got into business, entrepreneurship, and yeah, I'm glad I got out of that before I got hurt. But it was exciting while it lasted. So,
all 8 seconds of it, right?
well, if I ever stayed on that long,
yeah. That's like much of my cowboy friends when they say they rodeo, and I'm like, do you bull ride though? Because that is just next level cojones. If you bull ride, like, or if you even know any bull riders, it's next level. You got to have balls of steel. And I've been on a steer or two, and you know, a couple of bulls in the Nashville bars. Shout out to Kid Rock's bar. But you know, there's something to be said about just being on this massive beast, and yeah, good for you for getting out before you got really hurt, because it's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when, right?
that's right. Well, as entrepreneurs, we tend to push the boundaries, right? We're adventurous. We like to try out different things. So,
Yeah, very true, man. Very true. All right. Well, speaking of entrepreneurs, I want to specifically talk to all the aspiring and you know, entrepreneurs out there who are currently getting after it but want to grow, want to scale. You've been able to grow your company to hit the Inc. 5,000 list, which is no small feat. And it's a testament to your willpower, your discipline, but also your radical prioritization. And I want to start here because this is where I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss it. They just don't know what to do when. They maybe prioritize things that aren't truly needle movers. When you talk about radical prioritization, let's first define terms. What does it mean to you?
So radical prioritization in my mind is essentially the 2 to 3 things on a daily basis that are going to move the needle in your company. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, there's always tasks that are greater value than anything else in the business. You know, as your business grows, so does your task list, right? So your task list, your initiatives, different things you want to do with the business, they're not all created equal. So with radical prioritization, what I do, a lot of people they'll prioritize their tasks on maybe a monthly basis or a weekly basis. I do it daily. The
Mm.
night before, I'm looking at the top 3 tasks that I need to be doing the next day that's going to move the needle in my agency. And when I talk to other agency owners as a mentor, that is the number one thing. You know, they'll talk to people, they don't have any leads, any clients coming in, and they're working on the back end of their website and, trying to get SEO up and running. And it's just, just having that mindset. And I wasn't like that right off the start, right? It's something that's learned, it's something that's trained over time. But when you really prioritize what you're doing, it actually takes off a little stress and overwhelm as well, right? Because when you're prioritizing tasks and you're doing that on a daily basis, the needle starts to move. So it becomes a lot more exciting in your business, right? When your business is totally stagnant, it really doesn't make you want to wake up and go to work the next day, right? You're working 12 hours a day and nothing's moving. Your revenue's not increasing. It's not very exciting to come into work. So what that does is it provides more motivation on a daily basis to keep moving forward.
Mm. Yeah, it really does. I mean, I like how you break it down. You only are looking at three things, 3 things a day. And I talk about our key three, our MVTs, the most valuable tasks. And I do very similar exercise. Hey, what are the key 3 things today? If I do nothing else, will be a win, right? And that's a benchmark of a successful day to me, because as entrepreneurs, we can always do more, quote unquote, right? And the work is never done, right? So we have to have some key metrics in which we analyze our priorities against, as well as, you know, what quote unquote a successful productive day looks like. So let's break it down a little further. So you're looking at it the night before, and you're specifically talking about needle movers like lead gen, sales, some of the stuff that is really, without that you don't have a business. How do you go about identifying the key needle movers for, let's say, lead generation first and foremost?
Yeah, so for something like lead generation, I mean, you can break that down even further, right? I mean, every company wants more leads, right? So it can't just be something like lead generation. It's what are the tasks that I'm actually going to do that are going to contribute to lead generation. When you have the leads coming in, I mean, that's kind of a lag measure, right? That's something you're measuring after the fact. But it's
Right.
what are you going to put in place that day as a lead measure to make sure that you're putting in the work, you're putting in the steps that are going to create that lead generation. So you can break it down, you know, depending what industry you're in. For my industry, for instance, what I'm going to do is, for Masters of Home Care, is I can scale up my ads, I can put out a video promotion, I can do a challenge, something like that, to start drumming up some leads and getting some interest in the business right away. And then you start to see the lag measures come through. So really, really breaking it down. It's not just like sales and marketing or management and operations. It's breaking those down on a very, very small level, individual level. And yeah, what you're going to be doing as far as the tasks on that specific day.
Mm. Yeah, great points there. With the 3 things you mentioned: ads, video promotion, creating a challenge. I also, want to just mention good old fashioned pick up the phone or send a DM or, pepper out an email or two. Like this stuff, this is part of happy hustling, people. 50% of happy hustling is hustling, right? Like it's both. You got to put in the hustle. And I think sometimes as founders and as entrepreneurs, we forget that, or at least we think maybe someone else should be doing it, or I'm vision and strategy. I'm like, man, specifically for this book launch, I was hitting up the homies. I'm begging them, hey, buy some books, and you bought you bought books, and I'm so grateful for you. But I mean, like, it takes that, right? You have to have that grit and gusto to get after it. Speak to that piece too.
Yeah, 100%. So basically, speaking to going after it, you essentially, when you make these priorities and the priorities and these tasks, you want to make sure that as a business owner, I mean, it's super easy to get drugged back into it, right?
Mm,
And even as you get busier and busier, your task list is going to grow, just like I mentioned before. But you have to keep those priorities actual priority, right? I
yeah.
mean, you can't be sacrificing, you can't be jumping back into operations. You have to make sure that you're grinding on those priorities on a daily basis and making sure that those are the first things that get done each day. Because
Mm,
what I see happening all the time, and I'm 100% guilty of this too, is that I'll make three priorities, but I'll have a lot of other tasks to do that day. So I start doing those tasks. And I'm still guilty of this from time to time,
yeah.
but you get better and better at it over time of finishing those priorities first and hustling on those and making sure that those are going to get done. You had mentioned happy hustling, and happy hustling means moving your business forward as well, right? That tends to make people happier on a daily basis, right? So doing the right things each day is 100% happy hustling. You don't want to
Yeah.
just be hustling with no direction and no strategy.
Amen. You preach it, man. And, with that, it's not just hustling professionally, right? But also personally too, like being a great husband, father, community servant, man of God, right? Connecting to these amazing relationships in our lives that sometimes get sacrificed when we are grinding in our business. And I know you and I both have been on the other end of the spectrum where we've fallen victim to this grind culture without prioritizing our family and our fitness and our faith and some of our fun, right? Like these pieces, at least I'll speak for myself, but I feel I know you well enough to at least mention we've both been victim to it, right? How do you also prioritize
100%.
this this piece to the puzzle as well when it comes to personal life?
Yeah, so definitely being intentional, right? When I first started my business, we didn't have any dogs, we didn't have a kid on the way or anything like that. So it's easy to get caught up in it, right? I'm on my laptop on the couch at night, 10 p.m. The wife's watching TV and everything, and I'm sitting there working. And so being really intentional with your time. So if you're going to work on a weekend, that's totally okay. But make sure you schedule that time in, maybe from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., you're going to work and you're going to work on those priorities. But everything after that, you're not working, you're not on your phone, you're not on your computer. So just being really, really intentional. And in my industry and a lot of industries, it's tough, right? Because you're 24/7, right? So it's really hard not to check in and see what's going on in the business. But separating those two is absolutely critical. And the only thing I wanted to mention is you're not generally looking for perfection, right? Like we're
Mm.
talking about happy hustling, making sure you're intentional with your time. The wheels are always going to fall off at some point. We're all growing our businesses. We all have a lot going on at home. So you might have a couple of weeks that are bumpy, they're a little bit rougher, but you're aiming for 90%, right? That's what you want to be, is intentional with your time 90% of the time. And then sometimes everything's going to go haywire and everything's going to go off the rails, and just know that that's okay. That's going to happen from time to time.
Hmm. Yeah, giving yourself grace when you do go off the rails a bit or there is an imbalance, quote unquote. Again, shameless plug here, but that's why I love the soul mapping system and having the 10 alignments, on my refrigerator with the blissful balancer, because then I can see, all right, where am I actually lacking and where do I need to prioritize change accordingly, right? That I think has been a big catalyst in my life. And, again, it's what you measure, you manage, right? You're able to quantify where you might be lacking. When it comes to the next piece to growing a successful company, you got the lead gen, right? And we'll kind of loop that into sales at large. But to stay on sales for another beat, you then have to sell them and like actually turn a prospect into a client. I know you've been really effective at doing that. Give us some high level sales strategies when it comes to selling high ticket.
Mm-hmm. So conversions are obviously a critical thing, especially selling high ticket. And I have dove into the psychological approach to selling over the last few years. It's been super, super interesting, and it's crazy to see how people respond to different things and different strategies. And so I would say two of the biggest differentiators that we have used is perceived value. So in my industry, there's a lot of people doing what I'm doing, right? But we have differentiators. And not only that, even if you're a company that's doing the exact same thing as everybody else, it's how you talk about your product or your
Mm,
service, right? So you can increase the perception of value on that. So even though we add on more than our competitors, we differentiate ourselves in different ways. Even the things that are the same, we're painting in a better light. So the
right.
clients or the students, they perceive that as a much higher value just because of how it's worded. So that's been a huge game changer for us, is just understanding how people perceive that. And then another is, and you and I have talked a lot about this, Carrie, is price anchoring, is just
Yeah.
making sure that you have different services and different packages, different levels that you can present to them when you're actually at that conversion point, because there is tactical psychological ways to do that that are going to push your prospect towards one package or another.
Right. Yeah. Those are really great points. Perceived value and price anchoring. Those two alone, for anyone out there listening, if you are not focusing on the perceived value and truly just the value at large, like how are you delivering this result that you know, promise, right? And then the price anchoring, this is something I don't think people understand the magnitude of price anchoring and how it can really transform conversions. If you don't have a higher ticket item be beyond your core offering, you're literally leaving money on the table. And it's as simple as making one up, right? Like I know, you know, with our biohacking business back in the day, we had a 100K price anchor. Did anyone buy it? No, no one bought it. We had almost one guy bought it, and I was like, "Really? You're going to buy this?" And then I kind of got like a little weary about it because I was like, "Damn, now I got to fulfill on this." But the main offer that we were selling was 25K, right? And so everything in relation to that 100K looks less expensive, quote unquote, like a better deal almost, because the number that I presented first coming out of my mouth was 100K. And now when I say, oh, or you could do this for 25K, or hey, if they don't take the 25K, we could downsell even one tier further, which was the 10K item, right? So this has been something I know you have implemented. How has it boosted conversions for you? Just maybe speak to that.
In a huge way. So this is actually something that we're teaching in Masters of Home Care to some of the other agency owners. But one thing I wanted to mention is this high ticket and the price anchoring. Typically, I mean, it all started with online, right? And digital products, digital businesses, the educational materials. And so what we've done in my agency is we've actually implement that in a service-based business. So anybody out
Mm,
there who owns a service-based business, you can absolutely use these tactics and strategies, and you can formulate your packages and have different service offerings. I do it every day in my home care agency, and the exact same thing that Carrie was saying. We have a product that's $80 an hour, but we sell a ton of, $45 and $50 per hour. And that's why that 80 is there. It's not to try and sell the 80, it's to try and sell a lot of the $45 to $50 packages. So it's been a huge game changer in both my service business and also my product based business as well online. So it can literally be applied to any business and any scenario.
Right. That's why I love talking about this stuff because it's so applicable across the spectrum. Anyone out there listening, if you have a product or service you're selling, you can create a price anchor and it will do wonders for your business. Um, let's keep it moving. So we have sales. Technically, we probably should have started with marketing because typically marketing precedes sales. But let's talk about marketing. Growing an Inc. 5000 company, you need to market. People need to know about your stuff. People need to know how you could help them, right? How have you crafted a marketing message that not only reaches a broader audience, but also stays in alignment with your brand?
Mhm. Yeah, so that's actually kind of interesting. So in my industry, I mean, it's a huge trust-based industry, and this is what we teach to all my clients as well. Reputation is the hugest thing in our industry because I mean, when they go online, they're going to look at who you are, they're going to look at your reviews, past family members. Building that reputation is the biggest marketing strategy that we can do
Mm-hmm.
because we are spreading word of mouth, right? And that's who's doing our marketing and that's who's spreading our message. So we're not actually, tactically going after and saying we have a certain message. I mean, we say we offer premium wellness services and things like that in the agency, but that's not ultimately, where the message comes from. It comes from our advocates and, the people that are actually out there promoting us. And that's our main strategy, is to build that reputation and have word of mouth referrals coming in. And
Mm.
it's been a game changer. I mean, when you focus 100% on quality, whether that's a service or a product, when you focus 100% on that, word of mouth will absolutely spread.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's again another point that is so important to echo. Word of mouth referrals are legit your best leads. And the reason is because someone else who believes in your product or service is selling it for you. There's this amazing article by, I believe his name is Kevin Kelly, A Thousand True Fans is what it's called. And it really just talks about you don't need millions of online followers. You really don't. You just need 1,000 true fans, and you can have a thriving, badass, multi million dollar business, right? If you just get people who really like and know and trust you, and then refer you to their friends and their family. And I think that's always a point that for me, it gives me almost like a peace of mind, because sometimes we get overwhelmed. We're like, I got to be on this platform. I got to be on TikTok and dancing. And
Mhm.
then I got to do LinkedIn posts. And then I got to do email marketing. It's like, yes, you could be omnipresent, as Gary Vee talks about, or you could really just focus on crushing one channel and just getting your customers who you already have a relationship with to really love you, and then they're going to be your sales force. So I know you've been able to do that. You have a lot of word of mouth referrals. Is there anything that you've done in terms of customer service that also fits as a marketing tool, right, that you can maybe shine light on that we could emulate?
Absolutely. So I would say when you sign somebody new on, it's obviously touch points, right? A lot of people think when they sign somebody new on, regardless of what business they have, the work is done, right? We'll assign somebody to take care of them. Ultimately, if you want to really spread that word of mouth, you want to increase, you want to double your touch points after you sign somebody on, right? You want to be communicating with them on a regular basis. You want to be pushing your programs. You want to be trying to upsell if it pertains to that specific industry. And ultimately just being in front of them and making sure that you haven't forgot about them. That happens so frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And just make sure that you're driving value, and it's always good to drive more value than they even think they're getting when you originally sell them. So that's going to immediately turn them into a promoter when you provide, some sort of bonus or some sort of service that they weren't even expecting. That's going to immediately have them promoting your services, and you're going to really start on a good foot and hopefully continue that out.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned touch points, man. That's something we're working on with the Happy Hustle really is how do we make a better onboarding experience? Like specifically the first 24 to 48 hours. People sometimes get a little buyer's remorse. And if you don't have touch points, if you're not like over communicating, if you're not checking in, sometimes people might like refund or might have a negative taste in their mouth. And you really have to think about that onboarding experience when it comes to growing and scaling a business. Um, I don't know who said this, but do more better, or excuse me, do less better is something that we've been focusing on. Like again, Rory, Vaden, speaking of just name dropping quotes over here, but he talks about when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. One of my all time favorite quotes. And I know as a business, we had diluted focus because we had too many offerings. And you can be like, oh, I can help everybody with everything. And it's like, no, that's not really going to do the job. It's not really going to create a lasting impact. So you have to focus specifically with your marketing efforts, with your sales efforts, with your fulfillment efforts. How have you been able to really focus your offerings and eliminate the distractions? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming, but I have to tell you the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that the Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode.
Yeah, so I mean that's a product of niching down, right? Is a lot of industries they're not even at the point. I mean, our industry is one where they typically try and be everything to everyone, right? And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you say about diluted focus and diluted results. And so now we're at a point where there's a lot of demand and there's a lot of industries dependent on the demand. You can niche down further and further and further. So what we're doing is, I mean, we niche down with specifically private pay clients. There's a ton of other payer sources out there. There's medical, there's non-medical, there's hospice. There's a lot of different things you can do, but we've specialized and our expertise is VIP private pay clients. And that's who we're teaching people to go after because there was a huge gap. There's not a lot of people teaching it. So we've identified a gap in that sense. And also we've just became the leading experts on that gap. So now people, when they think of private pay, they come to us because they know that we have the system that we can help implement. So I would say niching down and just putting 100% focus on that. Anything else coming in is just collateral, and it doesn't mean you have to turn it down or anything like that. But when you're looking at improving your quality or improving your system, make sure that you're dedicating your time to that specific niche, that differentiator that you're going after.
Mm. Such great points again, man. You're just crushing. And, I think about like for us, the Happy Hustle, what we really focus on. And again, it seems, like, oh, how many of these people are really out there? Well, they'll come to you if you nail it. More so it's the magnet versus the megaphone approach, right? When you magnetize your perfect people in rather than megaphoning, hey, buy my thing, look at me, check me out. And like legit in our marketing, specifically for the Montana Mastermind, it's nature loving, high performance, male entrepreneurs making minimum six figures, like, and we go so deep, who want to mix business with pleasure and pass the beer test. And it's like, for the right avatar, I feel like it's like ding, 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 which, you obviously, you answered the call, right? And it's
Yeah,
freaking
it
awesome.
worked.
Yeah, and it works, right? And it's like, the truth is, when you nail it in your niche, and I don't never know if it's niche, if it's niche, if it's niche. No, I'm kidding. See, Justin has this beautiful Canadian accent. For those of you who are wondering, he sounds just like Ron Burgundy, velvety smooth. No, nonetheless, it's so important, and I'm glad you mentioned niching down. And again, some of the stuff you could hear it and be like, oh yeah, I've heard that. But are you actually implementing it in your business? And I know JLD talks about niche down till it hurts, like till it actually hurts. And you're like, I'm going a mile deep and an inch wide. And that's when you know you're actually in alignment with the people that you're destined to serve. And then once you are serving and crushing, like you said, everyone else is collateral. Great. If you have a product or service that you can support them, that's why I love having, lower ticket stuff like a book, right? Or a podcast or courses, because then your main thing can serve the main people you want to serve. And then the byproduct of that turns into free content, or, maybe lower ticket items that serve the masses. I know you have stuff like that as well in your marketing. You have PDFs, you have lead magnets, you have courses. What would you say is most important to create for an aspiring entrepreneur or entrepreneur who's looking to grow and scale in terms of those lower ticket items?
Yeah, so that's kind of always changing from what I've seen. There's a lot of things that work in Masters of Home Care that they say are obsolete. Like they're saying like ebooks and PDFs and things like that. They're not a good lead magnet anymore. And I think that's in more saturated industries. So it depends on really what industry you're in, right? If you're selling a product or a course online, it might be, if it's something like, time management, something like that, is fairly saturated. You're going to need a heck of a lead magnet to be able to catch people's attention, right? But in different industries, in my industry, for example, there's not a lot of people that are teaching what I'm teaching. So to send out a lead magnet, it's basically any information, So we're still, I guess, in the dark ages, you could say, as far as lead magnet. So it really is dependent on your industry. But the one thing I will say is to test some things out. Don't make
Yeah.
one thing and think it's going to be a silver bullet. Test
Right.
some different things out and see what the results are. That's going to tell you what's working. A lot of these things you can create really easily, really cheaply with AI, with ChatGPT. Make sure that you're building a lot of different types of things. You can do your challenges, ebooks, whatever you think might work in your industry, and ultimately launch it and test it and see how it performs.
Yeah. That right there is test, don't guess, right? And it's like, I think an ebook will work. Well, ask your people what they actually want, right? And, are they 65 and older? Well, maybe they're going to be, reading things, not so much watching videos. Are they younger demographic? Maybe then cater it to a video course, right? Think about this stuff in terms of who you're serving and test it out. Don't just guess. I do want to pivot to fulfillment, and fulfillment we touch on like a little bit, when it comes to the onboarding process. But I want to kind of go a little different angle with you. And I want to talk about like biz ops, specifically like cash flow management. You've made millions of dollars with your companies. And then it's one thing to make it like top line, but it's another thing to keep it. Right. And then it's like talking about net. A lot of people talk gross, but net is, you know, the number that I am more proudly touting, and I know you are, and it's like that's that's where I really envy people who have a lean machine and they don't have a huge team, that they have all these expenses and maybe they got a massive top line number, but the fulfillment on the back end costs them so much, they're not making any money. When you look at the biz ops, specifically business operations, right? and you look to that net number and you're starting to really use radical prioritization with your expense sheet, walk us through that psychology as a Inc. 5000 CEO. What numbers are you manipulating, will you, to increase net and ultimately decrease cost?
Mhm. Yeah, so there's a lot of different levers in that. And I mean, what we're doing, I mean, we specialize in VIP clientele, and a lot of industries are doing this now is they're serving more affluent clientele at a much higher price, right? When you're talking about high ticket online, that's what people are going after, right? That's what they're prioritizing because they can serve at a higher level. That's ultimately going to increase their margins. There's certain levers that you can't really move, right? There's certain ones that you have control over and certain ones that you're only going to be able to manipulate so much. Like, for example, if you have a service-based business, let's say, maybe you're selling plumbing or anything along those lines as a service. And plumbers are all going to make relatively in the same range, right, depending on their experience level. So you can't just say, hey, I'm going to cut that in half. You have to control the numbers that you can, and that's going to be in your services, in your packaging, in your marketing of those services. So you have to make sure that you understand which levers that you can actually control, and
Mm,
then you go ahead and work on manipulating those. So that's basically what I look at when I'm prioritizing. And it's important to note as well is you always want to keep an eye on those numbers, because as your business grows, hopefully it's growing, those numbers are always going to change. They're always going to be moving. They're always going to be variable. So you might have, a great net margin, but you're investing in growth. So a month or two later, it really eats away at your net margin, and you have to kind of take a stance and get that number back up to where it needs to be. So just know that a lot of the time it's not set in stone, so that it is going to move, and you're going to have to manipulate it and prioritize it on a regular basis.
yeah. That again, we're talking, golden nuggets right there. Control and uncontrollable levers in your business as far as cost. They'll be fixed and then they'll be variable. And a lot of the stuff that I feel like I know for myself that I spend money on as an entrepreneur, uh, probably is unnecessary. Do you ever feel that where it's like, I probably
100%.
didn't need that expense, It's like, oh, do I need another subscription to services for captions on my videos? Maybe there's one that can do it all. I don't know. Like there's so many subscriptions and one of the things that I know I'm getting more cognizant of is being very deliberate with reoccurring subscriptions and expenses for the business. Now, positive with a business is you can write a lot of things off, which decreases your tax bill, which comes into net profit. So this is exciting stuff for you specifically, I'll tell you, because you can pay your new baby up to 13,000 something dollars. And, I got to say, Kaizen, he made a nice paycheck last year as a baby, because there's expenses that you do want to take on as the business owner so that you can ultimately decrease your tax burden ethically, of course. Let's just mention a couple of those things that you are very deliberate on when it comes to expenses and cutting them.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note as well is with expenses, there's different types of expenses, right? There's necessary expenses, like you may
Mm,
need an office space or whatever. That's something that's going to be fixed, that's necessary. And then there's also expenses that just shouldn't be there, right? You might have, 10% of your expenses that you need to cut on a quarterly basis, right? So you have to keep your eye out for them. The other one I want to talk about that I don't think is talked about enough is expenses that you're going to get an ROI on, right?
mm,
So when you're adding some things on, you expect to increase revenue or increase your net profit. So you're actually going to get an ROI on those expenses. That's the main goal, right? So yes, they might be expensive right off the start, but if your ultimate goal is to have an ROI on that, then it's not really, it's definitely not lost, right? You just want to the only ones you want to look out for is those ones that really contribute nothing to the business, right? And we do that on a quarterly basis. Is we basically try and identify what's moving the business forward, what's necessary, and then what's just absolute waste. What we maybe tried that didn't work out, things like that. So I think it's important to note that there is different types of expenses in businesses.
For sure. Yeah, there definitely is. And also in your personal life, there's a lot of expenses that you need to track and have a budget. And again, all this stuff plays when you're happy hustling and you want to grow and scale and have a fulfilling and free life. This, and free not in the terms of nothing free in life, but freedom. Will you, like, being able to do what you want with who you want as much as you want, right? That Tony Robbins quote that signifies ultimate freedom. That is something where you got to encapsulate all of it, right? And I know you've been able to largely have that freedom because you've been very focused in your businesses and you've been able to grow and scale and teach others. And I'm sure there's other people out there listening right now that's like, man, Justin knows what the heck he's talking about. It seems like a great guy to learn from, especially in this home care agency, business. Like, this is a very fruitful business in this industry, specifically, these VIP, higher paying, private pay, you say, clients. Where can people go who are maybe interested to learning more from you and about what you do? Where's the best place to send them?
Absolutely. So the best place to go would just be to mastersofhomecare.com. If you're interested in a newsletter, it's home care based, but there's also tactics and strategies that work in any service based business essentially. So you can sign up there at the homecaremba.com. And those are probably the two best places to find me. And if anyone wants to reach out and chat, I mean, you can also just reach out at hello@mastersofhomecare.com.
Love it. Yeah. Mastersofhomecare.com. We'll link it up in the show notes as well. But I urge anyone, even if you just have general business questions, Justin's a great resource. And not to just pepper you with emails, but I'm sure he's willing to support any happy hustlers out there, just like I am. And it's cool to give back too, especially to newer entrepreneurs, who maybe don't have the answers. And I tell you, having mentors, it shortcuts success. It really does. And I know you're a big proponent of investing in yourself and investing in your business, and as am I. And it really does make things that much easier, and it's more fun too, because you have someone to do it with, like, help. When it comes to, just real quick, masterminds, investing in yourself, kind of just you know getting support, what's your mindset? How do you put things through the filter? Should I, shouldn't I? Do you have a decision matrix? Will you?
I wouldn't say a decision matrix. It goes back to ROI and whether I think I'm going to get ROI out of a certain group or not.
Yeah.
With masterminds, they're extremely important. I was actually in a few masterminds early on. They were home care specific. They were industry specific. I found that I did not get a lot of value out of those. And then I did reach out, and obviously this is a shameless plug for Carrie as well, but I did
Let's
reach out
go.
to the Happy Hustle. And when I jumped in that group, it was an eye opener, right? There was guys on a much higher level than me, and also the important thing is that they weren't industry specific. We have people from different industries, and you can learn so much and bring that to your industry from these
Mm-hmm.
guys with all their experience and their expertise. And hopefully they've been able to implement some of the stuff that I use in my industry. So
Mm-hmm.
stepping outside of your industry, I think, is an amazing thing, because you're going to see a lot of the same information if you're in an industry specific mastermind. So definitely
Mm-hmm.
that. And then obviously, depending on what you're looking for, like on the personal side, that's why I jumped into Happy Hustle, is because it was all around. It was business and personal. And we
Mm-hmm.
were very aligned with our thoughts and our goals and our interests. And so I urge anybody looking to absolutely get in a mastermind group, but find one that's very aligned with you
Mm-hmm.
and what you're looking to do with your business and with your personal life.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate and receive the kind words. I know I teased it out of you, but the truth is, guys, Justin and I both invest in ourselves, and you have to do that if you want to grow. And I love the point you made about not being industry specific. That's one of the things that we consciously decided with the Happy Hustle Club was let's not make it industry specific because you can learn so much from other entrepreneurs in other verticals and other niches and other industries. So yeah, I recommend that as well to people to seek these outside wisdom sources. This has been amazing, bro. I am super pumped to just share your insights with everybody. Give us a little closing statement, will you, on the Inc. 5000 CEO best wisdom when it comes to growing and scaling and also being happy within the hustle. We're not letting you off the hook. We're still going to get into more questions, but just to encapsulate this part of the episode, any final thoughts on what we've covered when it comes to marketing, sales, fulfillment, growing, scaling? I know we've really covered the gamut, but anything else you want to say on it?
I think just consistency. I mean, the
Yeah.
biggest reason I see people fail is because they don't follow through with it, right? They start a business, they'll go out marketing for a few weeks and wonder why it's not working. So I would say stay consistent, stay resilient, keep moving. You're gonna get your bumps and bruises. I try and help people avoid that along the way, but it's still gonna happen. I still take mine from time to time, but stick with it, be confident and keep pushing through, and 100% you'll get there, because that's the biggest difference I see between owners who are successful and owners who didn't make it, is the ones that didn't make it just stopped.
Yeah, yeah, dude, so true. And it's so simple. Like you will not lose if you don't quit. It's just a matter of time before you win. And yeah, it's
100%.
it's that simple, people. So I love that you said that as a closing remarks on that piece. Let's talk about happy hustle hacks. This is something I ask all my guests, specifically like a happy hustle hack for your health, your money, and your spirituality. Let's start with health. I know health is a priority. You're ripped. You got it going on with, your vitality and your energy. Now, obviously, there's levels, and I'm sure you're going to be hard on yourself and say, yeah, I could be stronger, better, as am I. I know that. But for the most part, let's just say you're in the top 1%, man. So, what would you say is a happy hustle hack for your health that may be something a little uniquely Justin?
I would say, well, thanks for saying I was ripped. That's very generous, but um,
He
no, I
paid
would
me. He
say
paid me.
something for me. Yeah. Something for me is identifying like where you have trouble. Like I have no problem, going to the gym or going out for a run or whatever. I have no problem with the physical aspect. For me, it's my mind. I can't
Mm,
shut my mind down. So I've identified that, and I've identified that as a problem. So I was trying to meditate and I couldn't meditate. So I just basically, I would shut it off after a minute. I'm like, I can't do this. I would keep going. So what I did was I basically scheduled time to meditate, and in that time frame, I was not allowed to turn on the TV, turn on my phone, anything. So I meditated about 5:30 a.m. and
mm,
I'm not allowed to do anything else. I can't pour a coffee. I can't do anything else until 6 a.m. So that
oh,
forces me to sit there. But what it does is it triggers my mind to know that I have time and space there. So
yeah.
that's been super super helpful, and it's, yeah, I mean that's a big problem I have, is trying to calm my mind down.
Yeah. I love that you can't make coffee until you meditate. That's such a great reward. It's like, damn, I got to get this meditation in because if not, I don't get my cup of joe. That's awesome. Let's talk about money. Maybe something that you've done uh, to save or invest or spend wisely. Any happy hustle hack when it comes to money, again, that might be uniquely Justin in a sense?
Yeah, I would say I call it something called core capital. When I first started my business, I owned a business up in Canada before I ever started the one down here. And you know what I did? I did the same thing as a lot of business owners. I spent it all as soon as it came in. It was
Yeah.
out the door, right? So I developed a different approach when I came here, and I call it my core capital. So I do that both in personal and in business. And what I did was essentially the first 90K that I made in my business that I could actually take home and not reinvest in my business. I put 30K aside for personal and I put 60K aside for my business. And that is just an emergency fund that I've never touched in 6 years. It isn't an investment account, so it is making interest and everything. But it's been a huge benefit, because I mean, you run into a recession or you have a fallout with clients or anything along those lines, right? It's always there as an emergency fund. And what it does for me is it helps me make decisions in my business day to day, because I know the money that's there I can use, right? I don't have to save, I don't have to save and be really, really super careful with it. Obviously, I'm not stupid with it. um,
Yeah.
but I can actually use it to invest in trying to get an ROI out of it, because I have all of this core capital to the side. So I'd say that's something that's a little bit unique that I've done, just to, just take my mind off of worrying about that.
Yeah, and it really does relieve the pressure, and you can make smarter decisions when you're not operating from scarcity and you have some abundance in the bank as that emergency fund. Really well put. And I like that happy hustle hack. Let's talk about spirituality. I know it means something different to everyone, and that's completely cool. And I'm open to whatever your religion or your beliefs. I just think it's important to have faith in a higher power, in some capacity. What would you say is a happy hustle hack when it comes to spirituality, something you do to connect to, a higher power?
I would say for me, that's definitely been, and this is a pretty basic answer, but it's definitely been meditation.
Yeah.
I'm not typically a religious guy; I'm more of a spiritual guy. So that really helps me connect with doing, breathing exercises and meditation. I feel so much calmer after. I can tell on a long term basis that it's had definite benefits in that sense. I know that's a pretty simple answer, but it's the truth, and that's what's probably been the biggest game changer for me, and really, really just helped me out day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I mean, and one thing, just this has been a real benefit for my marriage is praying together too. We've been doing that. I know I mentioned in the Happy Hustle Club, but man, praying together every night, and most of the time it's just me praying, especially when she's saucy and mad at me for whatever reason. If that is, I'm just, hey, we still got to pray, and I'll pray over you, and we'll say amen together. But just not missing a night of prayer has been a game changer. Justin, man, this has been awesome. Freaking A. I love talking to you. Let's move on to the rapid fire round. And this is, again, just random questions, and you answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite food? Go.
Pizza.
Favorite movie?
Ooh, Armageddon.
Favorite book? That's a good movie.
Favorite book, Influence, Robert Cialdini.
Best business advice?
Um, get started now.
Hmm. What's your spirit animal?
Ooh, I'd say a moose. I'm very Canadian, wildernessy.
Love it, dude. I got to show you this moose rack that I just bought at a garage sale for $100. Freaking epic bull
Nice.
moose from Alaska. You'll love it. Um,
Nice.
anyway, yeah, if we're gonna paint them, they'll be sick. When you come over next, you'll see them. Okay, sorry. Sidebar. Three things you're most grateful for.
Health for sure. Family, my fiance, my baby on the way. There's a lot of things to be grateful for.
Yeah, awesome. And if you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on there, what does that billboard read?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. Um, I would just say slow down.
Mm-hmm. I love
Slow
that.
down, enjoy life.
There you go. That's the damn truth, y'all. Crush that rapid fire round, Justin. And man, brother, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your sales, marketing, fulfillment tactics to growing an Inc. 5000 company, as well as littering in all this, personal wisdom too, man. And just to acknowledge you for your growth. Like I've seen your growth from inception with the Happy Hustle Club, and like you're so, I mean, not that you weren't grounded prior, but you're in this different light, this energy of, really like practicing what you preach, slowing down, enjoying life, really being intentional with your time, this radical prioritization, man. It's been really cool to see. You've benefited my life greatly, hitting the slopes in Montana and shredding pow pow together, just having fun. It's just
Same
been
here,
so awesome
man.
to get to know you, bro. And freaking love you, man. So I just want to say thank you for rocking the mic with us today.
No, thanks for having me, man. Greatly appreciate that, and congrats on the USA Today with the new book. That's incredible. What was it, number 39?
39, lucky number 39, said no one ever.
Nice. No, I love it, man. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. All right. Let's mention where people can follow you online. Like, do you have any spots where, maybe if they want to watch your stuff, specifically, is there a channel you're more active on? And if so, give us those links.
Yeah, so the main one would be YouTube. So you can just go to Masters of Home Care on YouTube, and that'll take you there. You can search that. And also on my LinkedIn, I'm very active as well. So LinkedIn, same thing. Justin Currie, Currie, Masters of Home Care, and I'll come up on there.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. And we'll link all that up in the show notes too. All right, brother. Final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Happy hustling to me means finding your own balance. It's this, the balance isn't the same for everybody. Some people like to work a little more, some people like to work a little less, spend more time with family. Find out what that means to you and be intentional about gaining that.
Mic drop, y'all. Justin Currie. Love it. Thank you for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everybody.